I welcome you all for this one-day seminar. Today we have three topics to be discussed upon. First is preparedness for peer review, second one is professional ethics, and third one would be common financial reporting errors and compliance gaps under the Companies Act 2013. Members, we had peer reviewers one-day training program in the same hall last month, and that time we had learned what is peer review and why it is necessary, right? So the necessity of peer review is all known to all of you. I need not reiterate. Then I requested Heena ma'am and Anand sir to take up session on how do we do peer review, and also how as practicing units we get ourselves prepared for getting the peer review done. And then both of them accepted our invitation. Thank you so much, ma'am. I thank all the members who have registered for this program with such short notice. Thank you once again. May I call upon CA Santosh Kumar sir to escort the speaker, Heena ma'am, onto dais and then greet her with a floral bouquet. May I now call upon CA Rachita madam to escort CA Anand Prasad sir onto dais and then welcome him with floral bouquet. Thank you, ma'am. Members, I have privilege in introducing today's speaker, CA Heena madam and Anand Prasad sir. Both of them will be speaking together. Heena Kausar is a partner at Guru & Jana LLP, a 700 plus members chartered accountancy firm with over 15 years of experience in corporate audits and the implementation of internal financial controls. A chartered accountant with additional certifications in IFRS, Ind AS and peer review from ICAI. She specializes in statutory and tax audits, Ind AS implementation, financial consolidation, and brings deep domain expertise in the retail and service sectors. She is an active speaker at professional forums, ICA platforms, and study circles, sharing insights on audit and financial reporting. Beyond her professional work, she serves as a trustee of the Mahatriya Guru & Jana Trust, supporting education and mentoring initiatives for children. With this brief introduction, I present before you CA Heena Kausar. And I would also like to introduce the next speaker, CA Anand Prasad BR. Anand Prasad BR is a partner at Guru & Jana, again a 700 member accounting firm with over 19 years of experience in audit and assurance. He specializes in statutory and tax audits, bank branch audits, PSU audits, IFC design and implementation, and financial statement consolidation. His industry exposure spans e-commerce, retail, manufacturing, R&D, services, software, hospitality, infrastructure, and real estate. A chartered accountant with a Bachelor of Commerce, Anand is also a ICAI certified professional in Ind AS, Artificial Intelligence Level 1 and a certified peer reviewer. Within the firm, he heads the paperless process initiative driving digital transformation. With this brief introduction, I present before you CA Anand Prasad sir. Over to you. Over to you.
Happy morning. Happy morning. Thank you all for coming early morning. I know it's too early to start with because usually the offices only start at 10:30, 11 in many cases. And I can understand the thing also, like many of, like what sir said, last month we had a seminar on training on the peer reviewers. So how to do the peer review. And that time we felt the necessity from the practicing unit side also to know how to prepare for the peer review. We've been experiencing peer review at least now, it is our 4th or 5th time we will be getting a peer review done for our firm. and we've been facing the peer reviewer. Over the years, what I have noticed is it has become refined and refined and refined, and it has become much more better now. So earlier it used to be at a reviewer's will, whatever to his knowledge he can review and then give. Slowly there was some formats which one started putting in. Now there is an elaborate process which the institute has added on the peer review. Recently I was seeing the peer review website, it is under maintenance, that means something big is again coming to happen there. Now, at least what I was sensing is, and the QRP or any other thing, directly we need to submit the report to the website. Here we used to give it to the ICI. I am not sure the big change again is something which is coming up on the PRB. So that is what it is. Now, how do we prepare for peer review and why is it important? Earlier, only few firms with a certain criteria used to get under the peer review mandate. But however, now what has happened is more and more firms are getting into the ambit. Small firms, 2-partner firm, 3-partner firm also will be coming in because most of the firms will be handling the bank branch audit. Any firm which is handling the bank branch audit will be subject to peer review, that is coming from January 2026 onwards. That means when you have auditing the branch in the month of April, the firm should also already have the peer review certificate. That is the thing which is there. That is why a larger ambit of firm is getting covered inside the peer review now. So this is on the applicability of the peer review which is there. One, the peer review can be mandated by the peer review board. They can suggest any firm, then tell them to get the peer review done. This is one of the rarest cases, but they can tell any firm to get into the peer review. Then there is mandatory peer review which has to be happening. That I will take the criteria in the next slide as well. But however, listed entities and a certain level of firm where we have bigger audits, for example 500 crores and more of paid up capital or 1000 crores of turnover, those became mandatory. Likewise, there are some mandatory criteria which I will take it in the next slide. Then there are few firms who, even though is not applicable, they may want to standardize the processes and across, they can voluntarily do the peer review. And the third is new practicing unit. If they are falling in any of the criteria, they can get the peer review done. Once a peer review is done, it will be valid for 3 years in case of a seasoned firm, but in case of a new firm, it will be valid for only 2 years. So, which all firms the peer review is applicable? These are the firms where the institute also did not do it together. There were phase-wise implementation of the peer reviews. The phase 1 came in somewhere in 2022, where we said any companies having the listed company audits, be it debt listed or equity listed, both if they are handling, then peer review had to be done. And peer review certificate only has to be there. That is why many places wherever we have to do LODR requirements or SEBI requirement or a listed entity, any of the client will first come and ask, do you have a peer review certificate? And second phase, it came in with certain limitation of the turnover paid up capital and a partner limitation there. Wherever the firms have a turnover of 1000 crores or more, or 500 crores of paid up capital, or if they are having aggregate paid borrowings of loans and debentures greater than 500 crores, those firms only were subject to peer review. However, there was also a cap saying that if the firm has 5 or more partners, then the peer review had to happen. This came in somewhere in April 2024. So many of the large chunk of firms with 5 partners and more got into the peer review. Then came the next stage in 2025, wherein we made it mandatory in case the firm is handling the audit of a company which has 50 crore or more borrowings from a financial institution or banks, then they are subject to peer review. This came in somewhere in July 25. However, they also gave a caveat on the number of partners. That is 4 partner firm, if they are having 4 or more, then they will be subject to peer review. So that way also again many of the firms got into the ambit. Now the latest is in the 2026, where the requirement is in case the firm is handling bank branch audit or it is having 3 or more partners, then the firm is subject to the peer review. So the process I will let you know in the coming slides. We will take process by process how to apply for peer review, what are the forms to be filled, how to be prepared to face a peer reviewer, what are the kind of questions which will come in. Everything we will take it in detail in the next phase. So however, these are the phases of implementation. So when we come for the peer review, this is the roadmap of how to get the peer review done. When a firm intends or the practicing unit feels that yes, you are subject to peer review, or you are applying for bank and then you may have to get a peer review done, these are the steps which are there. So the first step is the form 1 that needs to be filled. So I'll take you through few on a broader level how to fill the form 1, but however the next time will take in detail, because that is very, very crucial in getting the peer review process done. So once the form 1 is filled with all the relevant data and other things, this needs to be submitted to the institute. So in case there are any mismatches, they will come back. Once the form 1 is approved by the institute, they will be sending a mail to the practicing unit, giving them an option of 3 peer reviewers from the whom we can select one of them. So the practicing unit will select one of the peer reviewer out of the thing and reply to the institute that this is the firm from whom we want to get the peer review done. So once we select it, the PRB board will send a mail to the peer reviewer saying that you have been selected to do the peer review, kindly give your acceptance. If the peer reviewer is okay to take up the peer review, then he gives his acceptance in a form 2 to the institute saying that I am okay to do the peer review. Then both of them, institute will align the peer reviewer and the practicing unit. After that, it will start the work from the peer review and the practicing unit together. So when once the physical meeting is recommended to understand both of them, to know both of them, and to give the requirement. Like any other audit which we do for any other clients, the peer review also has the same process which is there. The peer reviewer will select the samples, understand the practicing unit features, and then give the requirement list, based on which the peer review firm, that is the practicing unit firm, will confirm the preparedness. That is when the review will happen. A review will happen in 1 or 2 days. It can be an online and offline. The peer review, there are do's and don'ts which are there, which I will take it in the further slides. That is the execution part of it. Once the peer review is completed, the peer reviewer has to issue a preliminary report to the practicing unit, because there cannot be a disagreement between the peer firm and the peer reviewer. So once the peer reviewer gives the preliminary report, the preliminary report has to be responded. So here there are many places somewhere the catch comes in. Most of the observations the firm will tell, we will do it, we will do it. Because if it is not implemented, then you will not get a peer review certificate. So that is where the implementation from the practicing units become critical. So once the preliminary report is responded, the peer reviewer is supposed to submit the report to the institute. The report will be same like an audit report. It can be a qualified, it can be an unqualified report. So based on the judgment and the data provided and how you have handled the peer reviewer during the course of the review, he will be issuing the peer review report, qualified or unqualified. Along with that, there are some annexures to be submitted, which is annexure 1, annexure 2 and annexure AQMM. Even the form 1 is validated by the peer reviewer. So these are the documents which the peer reviewer is supposed to submit to the board along with the preliminary review report. Based on that, the institute will ask questions to the reviewer. It is not that once the report is given, they will agree. So they will be asking what kind of sampling method or many questions are there which they will ask. Based on the satisfactory reply of the reviewer to the board will consider and then issue the peer review certificate. So this is the nutshell of the process of a peer review which is there. Now we will go in one by one to see how we have to prepare the form 1, what is the kind of preparedness which the practicing unit has to happen before we fill in the form 1. So this is the first, form 1 is the first laying stone for the peer review, and this is something very, very important and critical, and it cannot be done by the articles or the lower level people in the team. It has to be done by partner in charge or the managing partners or the next partners in the firm. It cannot be delegated to the articles or to the any of the paid assistants in the firm. So what does it constitute? There are 4 parts to our Form 1 which is there. The first part is who, when and why. That means to say that who is the firm which is in submitting for the peer review. What are the details, like basic firm details, that is the firm name, firm registration, and those kind of basic details will come in the first application which is there, which is quite simple. Then after that is the part A, which will have the firm's profile. This I am not going too much in detail, I am just giving an overview because the speaker next will take you in detail on what are the questions which are there, how do we answer and other things. Here we must fill what is the details about the firm. Again they'll ask the firm name, firm card, number of partners. Is there any in the peer review is for a period of 3 years. So that is they suppose they tell from 21 to 24 or 23 they are giving 3 years what number of UDNs the firm has generated. That is the assurance services which the firm has undertaken. Those assurance services will be covered under the peer review. So when we give the details here, we need to give number of partners, number of branches. In case the partners have left the firm, okay, and there is a movement of the partners, at that point of time, it is very, very important as an exit exercise. UDN tracker is also taken from a retiring partner, because we don't know, many times they may not leave in a good terms. Then it will so happen that you do not have the list of the UDNs or certifications what has been done. But ultimately you will be responsible to demonstrate the work done by the other partner who has retired as well. So those are few important things. In case there are any branches or number of staff which is there or any other details will come in the annexure A, that is the detailed questionnaire. In annexure A only there is one more thing which is very, very important which we need to fill in. We need to give the number of assurance services which has been done by the practicing unit during the period of review. At that time, we need to bifurcate if we have done for banking, insurance, or any public interested entities, or in financial institution, or certifications, tax audits. Every detail has to be filled in into that annexure. So this filling of these annexures takes lot of time. So in case you are having to get the peer review done by Jan 2026, this is very short span. You need to rush and get the peer review done. Because in case once it is applicable and you are taking up a bank audit, you will not be eligible to do. So unlike where the listed entities or any other entities, before the audit is taken up, they take the first peer review certificate. Then only they will take as an eligibility for the appointment of the auditor. Same process will be followed with the bank audit as well. So that is the annexure A, question part A. The part B which is there is again a very, very critical part. It is a general controls which will come in. So here also I will just take a synopsis, but it will be taken in detail later. So in this synopsis here actually we need to, I have given here SQC, but now SQC is changed to SQM. SQM1 and SQM2 have come in. So this is something very critical. Before you take up the peer review, you need to prepare the quality control matrix which is there. SQM and SQM1 and SQM2. SQM1 is on the general controls, SQM2 is on the engagement controls, that is the audit related work, how the controls have been flowing. And then we need to fill in the general control checklist which is there. General control checklist I will take up later on a broader view. It is divided into 5 criteria which is there: leadership, then client acceptance, monitoring, and so on and so forth which is there. So these 5 pillars of checklist needs to be filled, and it has to be not yes or no, it has to be detailedly filled. In fact, there are implementation guides for every form which has to be filled by the peer review board. So for this also there is an implementation guide. We can see that and fill it before we submit to the institute. Then there is one more part C. Part C will come only in case the company, the practicing unit is handling audit of a listed entity. If you are not having the listed entity, then it is not required to fill the AQMM. AQMM is audit quality maturity model. This is a little bit of a much elaborate controls which are required that a firm should have apart from the general control questionnaire which they are having. Here, more of a governance, more of a systems will be judged, basically with regard to the human resource, then the assurance services and the digital maturity which the organization is having. So I'll take EQMM also in detail little further down. So these are a few things which we need to keep handy when the peer reviewer comes. This is very, very critical things which are there. This has to be kept handy so that the reviewer can come and then see it. One, firm's QC policies which are there, all the quality control policies. So there are even the guidance note or anything where we can find how to prepare the QC policy. Now the SQC is changed to SQM. There is also an implementation guide on the SQM as well which has been published in the peer review board website. So this is one thing. Then apart from that, the personal record. See what happens is when a partnership firm or a practicing unit is there, though we keep advising the client saying that you need to have appointment letters, you need to drive the employment this thing, because most of the practicing units have more of articles and less of paid assistance. This part of human resource part is ignored in many of the organizations. So this is where something which has to be very, very critical, where as a reviewer whenever they come, they will not even not only see the audit quality work or anything like that, they also see from the personal records, how the HR records are maintained, how the increments have been given. Many a times it is a discussion oral with the paid assistant or the qualified associate, whoever is there in the organization, and you send across a mail saying this is the salary. Because it is not, it will be a lean organization, not many people, it may be 20 people, 30 people organization, and the partners will have a control, but it is not so. Like how we tell the client saying that even though a small firm, you should have the appointment letters, exit letter, KRA, KPAs, those kind of things for a HR thing. The same needs to be demonstrated to the peer review. The third is the major chunk of it, which was the engagement files which are there. These are the engagement file documentation which are there in the practicing unit, wherein the audit documentation has to be maintained. Many a times we will always feel that we have been doing the audit for our entire life. So what is there in the audit documentation? But then it is not so. I'll take you through. There are institute expect that there has to be some sort of a checklist which are there that will demonstrate the planning stage, execution stage and the finalization stage of the audit, apart from the regular audit documentation which is done. So this is again a very critical aspect, because where we concentrate more on the audit execution and the audit work paper, we forget the planning, execution and the finalization part, which can be demonstrated through the checklist. The third one, last one, is the EQMM, which is applicable in case the companies are handling listed entities. Luckily, they have only told listed entities, they have not told subsidiaries of a listed entity. If it is said as subsidiaries of a listed entity, a large chunk of firms again will be covered, because we will be handling one, in a big group, we will be handling at least few of the subsidiaries of a listed entity, and this becomes applicable. We don't know what is next told, they may add that as well to that. So coming on to the pillars of the first part of the Form 1. The Form 1, initial two are only basic, that is the firm, like what are the firm, name, why, when and the details about the firm. The next is the structure which is there. When you see the checklist, that will be divided in these 5 manners which is there, which is the leadership responsibility, ethical requirement, client acceptance and continuation, engagement performance and the monitoring. These are the 5 brackets which are there, wherein we need to fill in. There are various questions which will come in against each of them, which will be taken in detail how to fill each of these pillars by Anant in the subsequent thing. Here when we come on the leadership and leadership responsibility which is there, again this will be with regard to how a firm is driving the leadership. If few of you or many of you would have done the IFC implementation. So in the IFC implementation, we always tell there are 3 areas which are there. One is the entity level control, one is the operational level control, and third is the ITCG control. Same way you can actually make the peer review thing also divided. Leadership and ethical requirement will come in the entity level control. Client acceptance, engagement, performance and monitoring comes under the operational and the ITCG controls. So this is how, I am just giving an example because all of you or many of you would have implemented the IFC for various clients. and that time you would have actually done the ELC controls or the operational controls. That is why I always view the peer review at the time of doing or when we get our peer review done also. So at the time of leadership and ethical requirement control, they basically ask how as a managing partner or as a partner of the firm, the controls are driven. For example, is the firm having the QC manual? If there is a QC manual, how is the review mechanism? How is the client onboarding done? Who takes the final call on the fees? Are you doing an undercutting of the fees? What is prescribed by the institute? Is the fee lesser than that? Okay, there are few control questions on those lines which comes under the leadership and ethical. This will be taken up in the further discussion, so not going too much in depth, but I am giving an overview of that. Again, coming on to the client acceptance and continuance, which is there, again a critical part of the review, which is there, and the client acceptance. Many a times, the mid-sized firm or a smaller firm, what they do is, they take up whatever the client is giving. So here there is a judgmental call which has to be taken. How have you taken the client? Whether there is any background verification of the client which is done. Is there a conflict of interest which is being checked? If it is a 4-partner, 5-partner, 10 or 30-partner firm, it becomes very, very difficult to do the conflict check. Saying that, there may be some partner relative who may be this thing. How do you do the QC, conflict check within the partner, saying that whether you are eligible to take that audit or not? Or there may be issues with the previous auditor. That is why the auditor change is warranted. Have you communicated enough to the previous auditor and then only taken this audit? So what is the background check of the client? Are you doing undercutting of fees for getting a client? Those kind of questions at the partner level will be addressed in the client acceptance. And then comes the engagement performance. This is again on the audit or the assurance functions where the firm has generated the UDNs. So for the peer review, only assurance services wherein UDNs are generated are critical, and these needs to be seen there. So engagement performance, again when it comes in, we need to see whether the firm practicing unit has documented the audit work paper properly and how are they demonstrating the audit work paper. So here the checklist plays a very crucial role, which I will discuss a little bit in later and Anand will discuss in detail, which is there. What are the checklists which has to be there as an organization when you are demonstrating and producing the audit work papers to the peer reviewer. Apart from that comes the monitoring. During the course of the audit, how is the monitoring process? Is the partner who is in charge of the audit, that is the engagement partner, is only seeing the audit for the purpose of audit and left it to the juniors and the article? How often does he go for the review? If he goes for the review and you would have given the oral points saying that do this, do this, do this, do this. But then how do you demonstrate to the reviewer that the review has been done? So those kind of audit documentation wise, that will come in the monitoring process. Again, peer review process, what I feel is demonstration of how we have done, how the controls in the organization are placed, how is it being demonstrated. So this is what is the crux of peer review which is there. So once the the form 1 is filled and submitted and the peer reviewer is selected, this is the next set of things which will happen. The reviewer will send the samples. The samples will be selected based on few of the criteria which is there. I'll just open that. Not there in this checklist, but I'll just tell the samples. In case the company is the practicing unit is having various in case the practicing unit is having statutory audits, a minimum of 5 statutory audit samples need to be selected. Okay, and in case there are bank, insurance or any other companies which are handled, those need to be selected and for the peer review. In case again the practicing unit is handling any public interested entities. So the public interested entities is not defined anywhere, but any audits where there has been an interest from the public. For example, like NBFCs or any other things where like lot stakeholder, there are many stakeholders who are viewing the financials that will come in. Trusts will come into the ambit of the public interested entities. So those are will be covered under the those. Plus apart from that, all the we need to see if there are 5 partners. We need to take assurance services from all the 5 partners. It cannot concentrate to one partner. And if it, whereas the peer review period is for 3 years, we need to take files from all the 3-year files which are there. So selection criteria becomes little bit of a critical. That is why day 1 of the review only peer review will ask you all the assurance services which are there. And suppose it will be stat audit, tax audit, or GST, or internal audit, or any other services where the assurance services has to be done. The peer reviewer is supposed to pick up sample from each of the nature of the peer work which has been handled. So the sampling criteria will 1, minimum of statutory audits which has to be taken. Maximum can go anywhere until the satisfaction of the reviewer. Certifications, couple of certifications, couple of each nature of assurance services, each partner we need to take, from each year we have to take. So this is the sample selection which is there. Once the sample is selected and then given it to the practicing unit is supposed to keep the files ready and intimate the reviewer when they can come and do the review. So once the files are ready, the peer reviewer will come in. So then again the process will start not only from the audit documentation perspective but also on how the other controls of the organization are there. So this is very, very critical process. This is the main process which will happen during the audit. It may take 2-3 days or a week's time to complete it. So reviewer will come with a view of having the quality controls assessment done for a firm. So because the form 1 will be taken up later, I'll just tell about AQMM. AQMM will come only in case the practicing unit is handling the audit of the listed entities. This is little more elaborate than the form 1 which is there. AQMM will be having questions on 3 areas. One on the PUs, the assurance services, then on the human resource, and then on the digital maturity. So these 3 will be assessed in the AQMM. I'll open the AQMM checklist. We can just see once what all will be there. It's visible now. AQMM has 3-4 things very beautifully done in that. It's very nice to see that the institute is taking care of so many things. There is one negative marking in the AQMM. And they have given the pass percentage for AQMM. At least the firm has to get 30% pass to get through the AQMM. Third, because of AQMM, firm will be ranked level 1, level 2, level 3, level 4. If the firm is able to score 85% and above, they will be level 4. If they are below 85%, then level 2. So there are levels which are there. I'll show the levels also which are there. And based on that, in the peer review certificate, there are 2 certificates which is there. One AQMM certified, one without AQMM certified. In the AQMM certified, the peer review certificate will also show the level at which the firm is being qualified. If it is a level 4 firm, then you can proudly say that we are adhering to all the compliances which the institute is telling. If it is level 3, you know the marking. Level 2, we know the marking. Level 1 is very, very basic because lot of things are there. So to get level 4, what is that we need to do is what is then stated here. So here they are asking how the assurance services, revenue from assurance services, what is the percentage of revenue services to the total services which the firm is handling. Okay. Then how robust is the SQC manual. Now the SQM. I told about the pillars which are there. Leadership, ethical, acceptance and continuation, human resource, engagement, performance monitoring. So in each of these there are questions. The reviewer has to, first the firm has to give the marking themselves, saying that in the SQC manual what the firm has prepared, how robust the firm will feel, so they will give a marking. Then after the marking given by the firm, we need to mark against, the peer reviewer will give the marking. So once both the markings are seen, the percentage, there is a weight which is given for each of the point, and then the pass percentage is derived. So this is somewhere where even though you are not into the AQMM model, I feel every firm should take up this test to know what is the level of controls which the firm is having. It may be like, initially you may get less marking, but we can always try saying that, how to get the level 3 or level 4. So this is what it is. Because as we grow, number of audits which are being did, bigger audits will come. In case you take up any listed entity audit at a later point of a time, then AQMM becomes very easier for you at that point of a time. So here that is the exclusive manual. Then they are talking about budget versus the actual. That means to say that in case you are taking up an audit, have you taken the actual versus the budgeted hours? And are you monitoring the controls with regard to that? Then is the firm subject to any QRB and FRRB reviews? If the QRB review is taken up, is there any negative comment? Obviously, when the QRB comes, they will give some recommendations to the firm for implementation, however best you present. In that, is there any negative comments, or if they are giving recommendatory, there is no negative marking or nothing. If there are any observations from the QRB and FRRB, that will come into the thing. So they are asking from FRRB, QPRB, QRB and CNAG and TA QRB which is there. So all of these are things which needs to be seen. Plus here I will show you one thing very nice which they have done. If there are any comments from NASA, they are asking, there are communications to those charged with governance. There is one thing which they have added very nicely here. These two questions. Please see this. One, they are asking if there is any client where you have charged the fees less than the minimum specified by ICAI. I am not sure if you have seen, there is a fee scale which is prescribed by the ICAI, wherein that is the minimum fees which can be charged. So many a times the firms go for an undercutting and they will do it at a very minimum fees which is there. So in case the firm has taken up such kind of a audits or an assurance services where there is an undercutting on the fees, that will come here. The second one is very beautifully done. They are asking if the firm has backdated an UDN, if it is more than 2 days. Okay, there is a negative marking for 30 marks which is there. This was not there earlier. It was not documented also anywhere. So all of us were taking the liberty of having that 60 days for the UDN and keeping on taking this thing. But however, if you see here, they have put a catch anywhere with this where the UDN is generated after 2 days. That is visible. It is not that the firm can hide. If the UDN tracker is available and downloaded, we can see the document date and the date on which UDN is generated. So there is it is at a very clearly we can make out whether there is any backtracking. So slowly they are actually bringing many things into the control, so that things are regulated. And again they are asking again on the controls in the EQMM, whether the firm has a whistleblower policy, okay, whether how many branches are there, how are the controls in the branches, what are the number of partners who will visit to the branch, those kind of things are there. And here there are many negative, and this is something again, as we said, this will be applicable even if you are not handling the listed entities. This is something which the reviewer expects at the time of a review. So in the form 1 where I was telling the engagement documentation, these are the things which checklists which are there. In our firm what we have done is, we have in audit ERP software where the checklists have been divided into planning stage checklist, execution stage checklist and the finalization stage checklist. So because manually to do this checklist, it will be a humongous task. Along if you factor 15 days for audit, another at least for a week's time you have to keep for this checklist filling. And second, training the staff for the checklist filling is again a bigger thing. That is why this becomes very critical to understand what is coming into this checklist which are there. And once the checklists what are coming, whether the people who are there in the firm, the paid assistants or the qualified associates who are there, are they trained to fill in this checklist? If they are trained, because of the pressure what will happen in April to September, many a times we close the audit in a rush. So closing the work paper itself is a bigger task. Where to sit and do this checklist, that is the kind of thing which will be there. And this we also have faced over the years. But to get into the system, it will not take in the year 1, it will take year 1, year 2, year 3. Then only it will happen. There are various softwares which are available, wherein these kind of checklists are available and it can be filled. So here again the checklists are divided. If I have to tell, there are few at the beginning of the audit which needs to be filled. One, the client acceptance and appointment formality checklist, engagement acceptance. Then engagement letters. Engagement letters again are very, very critical. What we are doing, what we have seen also, and usually what it happens is also that engagement letter is drafted at a very, very basic level. But SA 240 specifies that there are few things which has to come in the engagement letter and which are a minimum requirement when you take up an assurance services. So whatever engagement letter is there, please see whether it is in line with SA 240 which is there, and that engagement letter format is also available in the audit work paper guidance note which is there issued by the institute. And what we do is, along with the normal engagement letter which we have, we annex those minimum requirement which needs to be there for the assurance services. So there will be a small two-liner and we can express to the client. Because whenever we send the engagement letter, many of the clients will send it to their legal team to vet it. They come up with so many things. So we tell you only get the first part of the engagement letter vetted. The second part is the institute requirement which is there, where we will not do any of the modifications. So this is how we take care. Maybe engagement letter, and second, when is the engagement letter taken? It has to be taken in the beginning of the assignment. Many times it goes at the end of the assignment because fees discussion happens many a times after the audit closure. So we will keep the fees discussion open, saying that we don't know how much is the effort, what is the quality of data which is coming in, and we don't know the efforts what is there. We will discuss at the end. So many a times engagement letters are taken at the end of the audit. It has to be taken at the beginning of the audit, not at the end. So this needs to be monitored. So you can tell for the fees part of it as negotiated later or as accepted. I'm not quoting the fees in the engagement letter. Then planning the scope of the engagement. Check, there is a guidance note on audit work papers which is being issued by the institute, which gives all the checklist proper breakup, saying that what are the checklists which need to be maintained. They have also given the standard checklist which are there, which is in downloadable form also. So these can be again seen based on the assignment criticality. Not that everything has to be filled for everything, but you can see what is bare minimum requirement which can be filled by the firm. But having said that, wherever bigger audits are there, you can keep everything there. So a few will be on client acceptance, planning, how are you taking the previous audit observations to the current audit observations, a current audit, and then how are you giving that knowledge to the members who will be working on the audit. All things will be demonstrated in the checklist. So these checklists becomes very, very critical. So if you see the checklist 1 to 10 or 1 to 11 is on the planning, then comes the execution checklist. How are the audit sampling done, statistical sampling or random sampling done? How is the audit strategy divided? How have you communicated to the WCG? That is those charge-based governance, beginning of the audit and during the audit and at the end of the audit. How is it being communicated? Partner, how many times the partner has come in to the review, and whether he has documented his comments, and how our partner's comment addressed. During the audit, if there are any communication or the gaps which have been found out, has the PU maintained the separate checklist which is there to address those issues? If it is the issues are there may be few issues which can be closed at an article level, then it may be few with a qualified level, and then few with the partner, and then few it has to be discussed with the management. So at each stage, how is it demonstrated and documented is what will come in here. Okay. So then comes the final one, again on the accounting standard checklist or auditing standard checklist are again spoken here. So these are the few things which are very, very critical here. That is the first part of the AQMM. Then comes the human resource. Again, human resource, as I was telling, because many a times the audit of the practicing unit firms are more into the informal way of communicating to the people. Mails will be sent for salary increment, now documenting the appointment letters, increment letters, KRAs, KPAs, and those kind of things. Basically, here again the marking is for that only, but how is the training imparted to the team? How often are the trainers coming? Is there internal training, external training? To the extent saying that how is the office cleanliness is also to be spoken in this checklist. And how is the work culture which is there. So most of the checklists if you see here are based around that only. Is there any leave policy, HR policy, travel policy, salary and other emoluments? PF, ESI deductions if they are done in the organization. Everything is to be documented here, and if the organization is having all of this, there are grants which are being given. If you see here again, has the firm complied with the statutory requirement relating to these employees, that is PF, ESI, gratuity, and maternity leave also, POSH and other acts. If it is complied, then marking is there. Otherwise, there are negative points for that. So these are something very, very critical. Third comes the digital competency. Digital competency is again a little bit of a scale up which is there. Is the laptops having the access to the pen drives? Do you have a password policy? How are the backups stored? How are the backup retrieved? Is there a disaster management plan? All this will come here. I am just summarizing the checklist due to the paucity of time and other things. Here if you see the checklist, whether the server is placed here or how is the server located, those kind of things will come into the AQMM. So once the AQMM thing is done, the ranking is given. I'll go back to the PPT. So this is what it is. So level 1 is basic, level 2 is called developing, level 3 is called established, level 4 is called advanced, and level 5 is called the leading. So anywhere where we get 85 and above is level 4 which is there. So this is all the AQMM which is there. Once the AQMM thing is done, these are some of the common mistakes which happens in the Form 1, because of which the Form 1 will get rejected from the institute. So when you are filling the Form 1, be little careful. The firm name, FRN, details of partners, in case the partners have, there is a movement of partners during the year, that needs to be mentioned properly, otherwise it will get rejected. Incorrect review period. So when you are applying for now for 2026, because of the applicability of bank audit, you have to give the period for which you will be getting reviewed. Usually it will be for financial year, so March 2025 to earlier 3 years, 24 and 23. So during that period, whatever UDNs have been generated will be covering into the peer review mandate. So this is what it is. Then AQMM, again because of the negative marking, and sometimes what happens is when we give ranking for ourselves, we will give the best. But it is not so, we have to demonstrate also it is there. Then paper quality, this is few, many times in the checklist, no, what you say, yes, no, yes, no, yes, no is filled. There has to be some sort of a detailed thing which is written, which will tell about the firm's culture, how the firm is being developed. So that it cannot be yes and no, it has to be a little bit of a detail, not very elaborate, but a little write-up has to be there. And wherever signatures have to be done, few places signatures will get missed and other things. These are common mistakes which has been noticed by the Form 1s are rejected. Again, when the reviewer is coming, few things to be little bit of a careful and be cautious. He is not coming there to point out the mistakes or anything. Usually they come to see the systems and how the firm is evaluating the controls across various engagements. Documentation and not explanation. Documentation needs to be presented to the peer reviewer and not mere explanations. Now, we sit together with the team and then handle lot of questions. I'll clarify over phone. We can't document every call, right? So that is what the common answers which come from the peer review whenever we go. So these kind of things are not there. You have to give it with some documentation. They can prepare some documentation whenever you are giving to the peer review, or you have to ensure that you are giving them documentation and not mere explanations. And consistency is the key. They will select the samples. They can select any other sample as well. The PU has to be prepared that all the documents are consistent across all the audits or the assignment or the assurance engagements which are there, which will help you have the consistency. And the compliances with the accounting standards and the auditing standards. So many a times the audit revolves around the computation. Is the tax per kai, how much to do, but we forget the auditing standards and the accounting standards which are there. So that is very, very crucial which is there, because audit is binded by the Companies Act and not by the Income Tax Act which is there. All the standards, right from whether you are using the work of an expert or an audit report or any other audit evidence standard or anything, please ensure that you are in the audit documentation demonstrating it. For example, when you are working on the debtors, Your audit work paper can give reference to the external confirmation, and that is an audit evidence. That is a very strong audit evidence which has been taken. So in the audit work papers, when you are telling what is the work done, you can give reference to the standards which is there on audit evidence and tell saying that these are the audit evidences obtained, we are complying with the auditing standards here. And what are the number of evidences which have been taken, whether in case the audit confirmations are not obtained, the subsequent verification of those, how as an auditor we have satisfied. If that level of working is produced to the peer reviewer, then and the audit workings are robust and demonstrated, it will help. Plus the auditing standards, that is all the auditing. Accounting standard, there is a checklist which are available, and how you have applied the revenue recognition policy or borrowing cost policy or PPE or any other thing in case of IGAP standard or in the Indies, how the 115 or 116 has been recognized. If the work papers are demonstrating that, or you have a checklist which will tell this is what we have demonstrated, it will be helpful because you will be complying with the accounting and the auditing standards. These are few things which are do's and don'ts in the peer review. Have written policies, keep the files ready for review, answer everything honestly. Do not go around and tell I'll get you later or whatever it is. In case there is an improvement to be done, obviously we can improve and then go back to the reviewer saying that this is not done, we can do it later. But it cannot be that nothing is done and everything is done during the review. Then cooperate with the people who come in. Do not keep postponing the peer review. In fact, a few of the peer review which I have done, it is gone for 1 year long. We kept on postponing, kept on postponing, kept on postponing. That is what will happen. Then rectify the gaps preemptively. In case there are any gaps noted by the peer reviewer, rectify those gaps. That will help the reviewer to issue the review report. Then there are few things which we should not do. Backdating of documents which are there and overscore of AQMM. AQMM don't give ranking as and when it is there, and don't give processes which are not followed by the entity in the checklist. Even in the general control checklist, don't write very elaborately, we do, but at the time of demonstration we'll fail. Then don't argue with the reviewer. Reviewer is only come here to do the work. It is same like how the audits happen. You cannot take it to the ego, they will be asking questions what is there in the checklist only. Then engagement letters, missing engagement letters. And engagement letters with no date. That is the common thing which is there. The engagement letter will be there, but date will not be there on the engagement letter. And inconsistent working papers. One audit it will be beautifully done, other audit there is no work paper itself. Then we have to struggle getting the documentation. It so happens saying that many a times, because we also see in our firm, the person doing the audit will be there till he does the audit and he may leave. Okay, then the audit work paper of that person many a times goes within his laptop, or in the hurry of leaving he will not be completing the audit work paper, but we are finalizing the financials or the audit at that point of a time. So it becomes again a cumbersome task which is happening, where again we have to put somebody else to see what are the work papers. At that point of a time something will be in mail, you have deleted his mail ID, it will not be there. To demonstrate it becomes very difficult. Few things from a practicing unit perspective, if a person is leaving, to take a proper handover. Handover in the sense not only completing the audit, but usually whatever the work papers. If I see the general trend in the, how it happens, many of the people will be there till September or October closure, till the audit closes, and then they want to leave. Those people who are leaving are the very, very dangerous people, because they will do hodgepodge work, they will leave it in between, they will do finalization what it is. After that it is the partner who has to break the head to collate the work paper and other things. As a policy you can tell you have to finish everything, proper handover, review, take some time, even though it is painful at that point of a time, because all of us also will have hundreds of things, to see that work papers are getting closed properly. So once on the satisfactory issue of all the documents and other things, the peer review certificate will be issued. So there is one more thing which I have missed out here. That is the preliminary review report which the reviewer will be issuing to the practicing unit before the review. So usually there is no fixed format of the review format which is there. So usually what I have been doing is I am taking the annexure 1 and annexure 2. wherein as a reviewer we will be submitting the report to the institute. Each of the questions will be answered in the annexure 1 and annexure 2. In case there are any negative comments which are coming in both of the annexes, those annexes will be then in there saying that these are the negative comments which are there, and then we send it to the peer review form, which is the practicing unit form. The practicing unit form has to give the comments against each of the review comment. There are few things which the institute has come back saying that the review comment says futuristic. And if it is futuristic, we will not be able to issue the review report to the institute, to the practicing unit. You go and see how it is implemented. Okay. So that is where little bit of a catch, because we are going and doing the review of an historical data which is there. And in the historical data, when we are reviewing, we are seeing only the backdated thing. But however, institute, and there may be gaps. There may be lot of gaps in the forms. The engagement letter may not be there, or the audit documentation, assurance documentation may not be there. So when there is a comment there in the form 1, the people in the institute come back and tell you have to see how the firm has remediated, which is in future. So either the firm has to immediately remediate, tell us how the remediation has happened, and then the reviewer has to document that remediation, then send it to the institute, then only the peer review report will be issued. So there is a challenge here. So whenever if you are applying for the peer review, this is something which needs to be seen, how you are going to remediating it. Or the best thing is, before the peer reviewer comes, go through the checklist properly, what has to be given, how it has to be given, and you can actually download the annexure 1 and annexure 2, which is the peer review report which has been given. Go through the checklist and then try to fill it yourself. The best way to do is that only. Then when they come, you know what are the kind of documentation or what answers to be given. So that will really help you in getting a peer review faster closure. So this is something very important. And then in fact, in one of my review, they are still holding it. They are telling, let the PU demonstrate, I will give. So it is left on the the institute PRB and the practicing unit to show how they will demonstrate. Then again the reviewer has to go and verify and then issue it. So that is how it is there. Then upon successful completion of the audit and submission, the peer review report is given. The observations of the peer review are placed before the peer review board. Before that, in the peer review also, they will, whatever report is submitted, whatever questions are asked, they will again ask us to demonstrate our review by way of a documentation. They may ask us how many samples have you picked. They may ask us again to pick up few more samples to do the verifications. Sometimes they will ask us saying that, we are telling HR policy, give us the appointment letters which you have taken during the review. So these are the things which even the reviewer has to answer. So unlike earlier where the peer review used to just happen and then go, we have been doing now this is the 4th or 5th peer review which is happening to our office. In fact, some years back when the peer reviewer used to come, we used to not know also when he has come, when he has gone. Because it used to be only 1 day's work for him. He used to come, bari matadadu, ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ file ನೋಡೋದು. They used to go, peer review certificate was there. But over past 2 years when we have done the peer review, we know the pain as an organization, we also had to develop everything, SQC manual. Though we had the audit documentation, but we had to revamp everything. So now again our firm is subject to peer review. So whatever the manuals are there, now SQC has become SQM. So we need to revise again the things. So it is an effort from the managing partner or the review partner or the partner in charge. Please take it so that the firm will go to the next level. This is required. By the kind of vigilance which is happening from NFRA or any other things, this needs to be taken care. So this is the peer review certificate. Once it is issued, the firm will get a peer review documentation. This is a roadmap on a broader level, not going into each one of the things, but a roadmap on step how a firm can get a peer review done. Peer review is not last minute preparation, it is an year-long preparation which is there. If you are getting the peer review done, or if you are mandated and compulsorily to get the peer review done, you have to ensure that these things have to be there. I am open for any questions from anyone. Anyone has any questions?
They are checking previous financial years.
Yes.
So they are checking now. Is it March 2025 audit which we have done in September?
No. It has to be the UDN generation date. So 1/4/20, suppose it is for 25, 24, 23. 1/4/23 to 31st March 25. Whatever UDNs you have generated within the period, March 25 audit will happen post this thing. So that will not be covered. So within March 25, whatever UDNs you has been generated. So basically we can go with the UDN, that is very critical, and UDN repo is something very important. For each of the 3 years, whatever number of partners are there, download the UDNs from the institute portal only. In case the partners have left, then you have to get those as well. And then based on that, because there you will also give the nature of assurance services, whether it is a tax audit, stat audit, certifications, everything. You can do the summary saying that how many statutory audit, tax audits, or internal audits or certifications, or any other nature of service which is there. That will help you understand the firm analytical way where you need to concentrate for the peer review.
All certifications also covered.
Certifications also covered. Certifications actually are very little bit challenging. For each certification, we need to have an engagement letter, okay, and we need to have an MRL also for each certificate. Because if it is a network certificate, we know we have only done the audit. So we pick up from the audited financials and then give the network certificate. For that also MRL is required.
And if there are any lapses which are very serious in nature or something like that, does it get referred to any ethics committee or anything?
Yes, it can. If it is a adverse report or if it is a qualified report with many comments, yes. There are many things which we miss out. Going concern is there, but going concern checklist is not
Sometimes
there.
it is like we are digging our own grave or entity.
But it is not digging this thing, it is making yourself robust enough. So that is where how you communicate to the peer reviewer or present the documentation is very critical. In all the audits, I don't think you are giving a qualified report. Only in few audits you will give. The same thing with the review also, peer review. Not all the firms have such kind of thing, otherwise nobody would get the certificate. So that is where this seminar was conducted, to know how to prepare for the peer review. Do's and don'ts. The checklist and documentation, how you present to them is very important.
Excuse me.
Suppose we have 2 partners now. We are planning to appoint one more partner in February or January. So my applicability, after I appoint the partner, then
You will be applicable.
So whatever, because it says 1st Jan 26, the applicability starts, right?
Yes.
So along with the partner, I have to apply for the peer review also.
Yes. February 26 is what you are appointing, right?
Appointing.
So after the appointment, the firm will be eligible for the peer review.
No, but it says it's compulsory, right?
Yes.
So as soon as I appoint, I have to get the peer
Yes,
review. It's
yes,
like mandatory.
yes, mandatory.
Hi. Thanks for the very in-depth presentation. I come from the UK, Preparedness state. I just want to get there's a lot of alignment to the internal
Little bit,
controls. Sorry.
I'm not able to hear.
Okay, let me try. I come from the UK practice and Preparedness state. I see a lot of alignment to the internal quality control state.
Yes.
So how aligned, how mature is the internal control systems, quality control systems, and how easy it would be to just address a peer review?
So internationally, ISQM is where the quality matrix has been verified. The AQMM is in line with the ISQM which is there. So in case globally ISQM is valid, the AQMM is in line with the ISQM. Plus all the quality standards which are there are matched to the global standards. That is where all the auditing standards which are there in the India have been in line with the international standards of auditing standards which are there. So there is hardly any deviation which is there. In case many times we get this question from the global auditors as well, because if they are auditing in UK or US or Singapore or anybody, they also want us to what India is aligned with the global standard. It is aligned. Almost all of them are aligned. Plus, if the firm is having the AQMM, that is the level 4 certification or level 3, then it is matching to the ISQM standards from the global.
Okay, thank you.
Any questions?
Ma'am, are these checklists available anywhere?
Yes. There is a guidance note which is on the audit work papers. If you see that audit work papers guidance note, all these checklists are available. And it is in a downloadable format also. It's in the Excel only.
As a field reviewer, if you are going, let us say you are selecting one company, audit what they have done. Can you tell me in 5 minutes what are the things you are looking for in that?
So when I go for a review, I take statutory audit because that is more of a relevant which is there. So statutory audit, when we take what is the size of the audit which is there. So when we pick up the bigger size audits which are there and few small size audits. That is how randomly it is selected. So once the audit is selected, there are 3 things which we have to see. One on the checklists which are there, that is the planning checklist, execution and the finalization checklist. Whether how are they? Sometimes what happens is the form will be for the sake of filling. So client, I'll give an example. In the planning checklist, there is client acceptance, then audit planning, then job description, then how the planning. In the planning, what happens is we have to give who is the review partner, then who is the next to the person, then how it is. So there we need to specify who is the maker, who is the reviewer, and who is the partner in charge in reviewing. So these checklists will be verified in detail, saying that how it is done. Now that is only one part of the checklist which are there. Then coming on to the demonstration of the work paper. Each of the areas we are not supposed to comment on whether your judgment is proper or not. Because as an auditor you are qualified to take your own judgment. So I cannot go and tell you should have given a qualified report, you have given an unqualified report. That is not the work of a peer reviewer. Peer reviewer work is to see whether the audit work paper are aligning with the audit quality. Suppose for example cash and bank is there. That is the easiest one. Whether there are bank confirmations obtained. If the bank confirmation is obtained, whether it is a direct confirmation or not. So these are the few things which we verify. And then we see whether whatever is the confirmation which is there, it is matching to the books. If it is not matching, is there any alternate PRS which is available? And if the PRS is available, whether it is signed by the management. These 5 things only. In case you are seeing it debtors. So total number of debtors which are there, whether the aging which is there. How is the PU demonstrating the control for the work paper? In the work paper, do you have all the assertions mentioned? Like accuracy, completeness and those kind of things. Is there a financial report done to ascertain these other debtors? How is the aging analysis done? External confirmation is one of the audit evidence which is there. How many external confirmations have been taken? Whether the external confirmation has been sent by the practicing unit or by the client themselves. If it is sent by the client, have you obtained all the confirmations? If the confirmations are obtained, has it been reconciled with the balances available in the book? If it is not reconciling, has the auditor performed alternate procedures? So we are not seeing number correctness, we are not seeing whether the debtor is genuine, whether it is not genuine or anything. We are only concentrating on the audit process, whether the process is aligned. So once these things are there, we also come back with the gap observations to the practicing unit, saying that in this, these are the things which are not available. The practicing unit either can find it and then give it, or if it is not available, we will take it as not available. It should not be a case that entire work paper is not at all available for the audit. If 1 or 2 gaps are there, most of the time we apply check and balance. Likewise for the entire, plus on the finalization, whether the partner review has happened. If the partner review has happened, have you documented the partner review points or the manager review points? How the same has been addressed? Whether the company has obtained all the management representation letters. If there is a going concern issue, whether a going concern checklist has been obtained. And MRLs, whether it is signed by the appropriate person, and the date of MRL is something which we see crucial. Otherwise, we don't see many things on that. Engagement letter, again, very critical. Whether the engagement letter is been obtained, and in case the audit is a new time audit, whether the NOCs have been obtained. So nowhere the peer reviewer will question the judgment of the auditor at any point of the time. Anything else?
If
Any more questions?
I mean, in case of any difference of opinion between the auditor and the auditee, peer reviewer case, institute is also
No. See, audit is yours. In case you have a difference on opinion between the auditor and the auditee, that time it is your judgmental call. And in the peer review, there is also a process saying that if there is a difference in opinion, how is it resolved?
So I am asking about peer reviewer and the
That time PRB board will help, but however I have never seen that kind of a things, because you may tell it is black and white. If you produce him the paper, he will tell available. Unless he has some personal grudge against you, if it is not available, not available. So that is why when they give 3 options to choose, you can choose the whom you feel is the best person.
Ma'am, one more thing, respect to peer review sampling. In most of the cases, I'm not right also peer review, but in most of the cases they select top 5 to cover the maximum amount in value for as a sample. But isn't it obvious that the top 5 will be like properly documented and the average ones will not be?
Yeah, that is why the sampling methodology they have defined. There is no choice of the peer reviewer there. I explained it in the earlier this thing also. If it is a 3-partner firm, 4-partner firm and 5-partner firm, all of them have handled the assurance. The peer reviewer has to pick sample from each of the partner, each of the year, and the bigger companies which you are telling, listed entities, PSUs, and like where there have been a QRP or FRRP review, or any place where bank or financial institutions are there, those are mandatorily to be picked up. Plus they are asking all the nature of assurance services, statutory, tax, certifications, in case there are any internal audit certifications or any other assurance services which has been given, 3CEB, or in case valuation certificates, every nature of work we need to pick the sample. So that way this will get diluted.
Suppose a partnership firm is going for the review now. So the partner has done the UDINs in individual capacity also and firm capacity.
Firm capacity.
So only whatever is in firm
capacity, yes.
Okay. And only for that period.
Yes. Any other questions? Thank you all. Thank you for the patient hearing. Hope this was helpful. We'll have break for the tea now and assemble by 11:45. And post which Anand will take the session. Thank you all.